Hi everyone, my name is Pontea Dianati, and I'm here today to share about my near-death experience that I had 3 years ago. So before my near-death experience, I was very sick and the doctors couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. I was having a very painful condition that was basically covering my face, my head, and the whole left side of my body. And some doctors were calling it like the suicide disease, trigeminal neuralgia. A lot of them didn't really know what it was. And so after many years of trying different things, I met a surgeon and he wanted to do a surgery on me to kind of try to open up my sinuses so that maybe that would alleviate the pain that I was feeling for 6 years. I remember the day before the surgery, I was very nervous and I had like a very bad feeling about the surgery, but I ignored my intuition and I went to the surgery anyways. And right before I was about to go under the surgery, I said a prayer to God and I said, hey, like, please, whatever is about to happen right now, like, allow me to use it to be of service to humanity, which was a protection prayer that I'd heard before. And so I had the surgery. And when I came out of the surgery, right after I was in the room, I noticed there was so much pain, like in my face, in my head, and I was really not feeling good. Like I was feeling really pressure and so much pain. And I couldn't understand why there was so much pain for just a few cuts that he had done. And so I went home and I was home for a few days and the pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And after a few days, I sneezed and I felt something go like kind of like a stretching sound in my head. And I fell to the floor and I just kind of like looked around for my phone and I picked it up and I called my mom and I said like, please come here. I think like I'm dying because the pain was like that bad. And so my sister came and they took me to the hospital. And when I was in the emergency room, they did a CAT scan of my brain and they saw that there was actually a crack. An air had gotten in through my cranium because the doctor had managed to crack my head during the surgery. And, for the days that I was home, all these liquids were coming out of my nose. And I just thought like maybe it's just blood from the surgery, but it was actually my cerebral spinal fluid that was coming out. So after the emergency room, they took me to the ICU and I was there for a few days. And while I was in the ICU, the pain just kept getting worse and worse. And at some point, I crossed over and I went to the other side. And when I went to the other side, what I saw like really tall mountains, like a lot of mountains in this like heavenly world. And there was all these like beings of light, angels, devas, I don't know what we should call them, but they just looked like they were all dancing, like each of them on their own mountain. And I just remember feeling like so joyful, so happy because I had just been in the hospital, and all this pain was gone when I was on the other side. So I was so happy and I was kind of like moving with them. And I heard God's voice say to me, Pantaea, I know you've been going through a lot. So if you want to come home, you can. But if you go back, you'll be able to help everybody with, what is to come for humanity. And I remember like, I thought about like my animals, I thought about my family, and I thought about humanity. And I remember thinking, I can't like abandon them because I had a feeling that there was all these, challenges coming for humanity, kind of like what's happening on the planet right now. So I came back, it was kind of like a vision and it seemed like it kind of closed out. And I was suddenly back in the hospital room. The alarms were going off, and I was just like, whoa, what just happened, And so I got released a few days after that and I went home and it was really strange. I kind of had like a flu fever thing for like a month. I was just kind of under my blanket. I wouldn't really get out of bed that much. And I felt like something had shifted in me because I was giggling all the time, which was weird because the pain didn't go away. And I actually still have the condition to this day that I've had. So it's been 9 years now that I've had that painful condition. But now it's 2 to 3 days a week. Before it was 4 to 5 days a week. So I was very like giggly right after. And I thought that was like a big shift. And also I noticed my spiritual abilities that I'd had, before, which we all have, they seemed like they were all super heightened, like messages were coming to me about people like faster or, when I was working with people as a healer, sometimes it would take 5 sessions for me to like figure out some things. And now like the first session, I would just see something about them. So it seemed like everything was hyper alert. And so those were some of the things that I noticed right after the NDE. So that was like 3.5 years ago. And since then, it's kind of been a journey of like meeting a lot of spiritual people that have been trying to kind of help me with this medical condition. So it seems like God has been helping me to try to solve this challenge and it's gotten better. But I think the other main thing that changed for me is that my doubt went away, because I forgot to mention this. But as a kid, I always felt like I was talking to God or my intuition or something, but I was never certain. Like we all hear intuition, right? But when I heard God's voice on the other side during my near-death experience, it was the same voice or the same feeling, voiceless voice I had been hearing my whole life. So I was like, wow, like my doubt went away that there is a God. And before that, I was like, is this a real voice? Is this not a real voice? But when I realized the feeling of it was the same and the voice seemed like the same voice, I was like, oh, like it's God. And it has been talking to me and it loves everyone. Because when I was doing the vision, it seemed like God was so worried about humanity, so much compassion and so much love to even like tell me, oh, you should come home, you know? I was really surprised by that, because part of me always thought maybe God would be like harder on us, you know, kind of like what I'd been taught in religions growing up, that God would judge us to these like really high standards. But it seemed like God had like so much compassion for me and for like all of humanity. So growing up, I was born in San Diego, but I grew up in Iran from the age of 3 to 12. So we were exposed to Islam in school. They taught us Islam, but in Islam, they would teach us about all the prophets, you know, like they would teach us about Noah and Moses and Jesus. And so I kind of knew a little bit about all the prophets, and I was always fascinated as a kid with them. But I guess now what my path is, like, I just believe there's one God, and I feel like it's kind of in all the religions. I don't subscribe to any one religion anymore, just because I feel like humanity is at a point where it's time for all of us to unite. I feel like sometimes religion is causing division and wars and things like that. So especially after my experience and hearing God, I was like, oh, it is one God, like all the religions kind of say. Maybe it's appearing as different forms to different people based on what they need. Like, you know, maybe somebody in Africa is going to see God a different way than somebody in China would, you know, or somebody in Iran would. But it seems like it's a very, very loving figure. So I just believe in that now. I believe there's a loving God. It loves all of us. I don't necessarily believe it has a gender. I think it can come as a father or a mother, like, you know, depending on what we need. But I think it is one force that can be anything. It's in everything. But also, I would say it's in all of us. Like it's in me, it's in you, it lives in all of us. It's like a spark of light or like a fire, some people say. But I do believe God lives in all of us. And I remember one time having a conversation with God, and God said, the most important thing I want you to teach people in your healing work, or, you know, just when you're talking, God said, teach them how to connect to me in their heart, so that they all know that they can talk to me in their heart. They don't need like a middleman or a middle woman to talk to God, you know, they can just talk to God. And so I try to do that in my work, in my healing practice. I've been in healing work for many years now. I used to work, you know, in clinics, trauma clinics with kids and kids that had like really intense traumas. I worked with like people that had drug and people that, you know, had violent tendencies. Now, the people that come to my office these days, it seems to be people that are kind of like us. They're all into the spiritual world. They believe in God, but then they also need like healing or something like that. So I do feel like since my NDE, like since my doubt went away, that's probably helped my work. Because when people come to me, like I know it's meant to be, it's a divine appointment, and I take it like that, you know, like I don't really run my business like a business. I don't go out and try to find clients. It seems like people, when they need me, they find me, kind of thing like that, you know. And then I find the healers I need to continue my own healing path, because we're all always on our own healing journeys. It's not like a completion. At least I haven't arrived there yet. So those are some things. And I would say two things. The first thing is that, like, I want to say like the difference between spiritual psychology versus clinical psychology, because I think that's important. Like clinical psychology in our world today is what's used, and they're kind of like, here's your disorder, this is what's wrong with you, and then, you know, take this pill or whatever. And some people might need that. You know, I'm not going to discount that. But spiritual psychology, like what I do and what a lot of people are doing in the world now, is more like, what is standing in the way of us being our God self in the world? So that's kind of what we're looking for. Like, is it a trauma? Is it a belief? Is it, you know, is it something your parents said to you? Is it something the government said to you or something like that? So I thought that was important, because I do believe the destiny of the planet is for all of humans to become their God self. Could you imagine like what would happen to the world if everybody was their God self? Like it would end the wars because everybody would be that loving, compassionate self, which we all are. And then the second thing I just want to say is like about protection. So if you ever feel scared about like negative energies, or you're worried about someone you love or things like that, the highest protection is to be our God self. And the really quick way to do that is just to kind of put your hand on your heart, take a deep breath, and just say like, God and I are one in this body. And you kind of just feel the love and you connect to it, and you instantly are in your God consciousness. And whether it's like you're in a hospital taking care of a loved one, or you're going through something stressful, then that consciousness kind of merges with you. So I just kind of felt guided to share that with everybody. So thank you so much for listening to my story. I'm so honored to be here and to have a chance to share this. I hope that you take away from this that God loves all of us and has all of our back. And if we all unite and not be divided, we can create a beautiful new world for all of us. So good to see you all.